Hello and welcome to the continuation of Unit 2, Linear Functions. Today we're going to be writing equations of lines, and we are going to need the very important formula y equals mx plus b, and you're going to need your notes and a calculator. So today, what if I were to ask you to give me directions to Starbucks? What other very important key pieces of information would you need to know? Well, first, you'd need to know where I'm at exactly before you can start giving me directions. And another key piece of information would be which Starbucks do you want to go to? There's quite a few Starbucks in town, and they're a long ways away from each other, so you'd have to make sure you were going to the correct Starbucks. So just like when you're giving directions to Starbucks, when you are writing equations of lines, there are some very important key pieces of information that you need to know about the line in order to write the equation of the line. And those key pieces, using the formula y equals mx plus b, the two very important key pieces of information that we want to know are the m and the b. The m represents the slope of the line, the rate of change, the rise over run. The y-intercept is represented by the b in the equation. And so those are two pieces of information we're going to focus on today and what we need in order to be successful in writing all the equations of our lines. Now there will be 4 examples that I give you, and you need to make sure that you write each and every one of those examples down. So let's get started with example number 1. Example number 1, we are given a graph and asked to find the equation of the line by looking at the graph. Well, we need to know y equals mx plus b. And within that, we would like to know the m and find the m. And to find the m, that's your rate of change. How much is it rising over? How much is it running over? You need two very nice points. And what I mean by nice is you need integer values. And so those 2 points right there that I have circled are nice integer values. And then you can talk about how much the graph rises up. And if we count that, that's 1, 2, 3. And how much it runs over, which is over 1. So the slope of this line is 3 over 1. And now we want to find the y-intercept. Where exactly does it cross the y-intercept? Well, first of all, you want to know where the y-axis is. This is the y-axis. And if you notice, it is crossing the y-axis at 5. So your y-intercept is 5. So you now have your two very important key pieces of information, slope and y-intercept. And so now we can say the equation of the line is y equals 3x plus 5. That's example number 1. Let's go ahead and do example number 2. Now in example number 2, we're given different information. There's no picture. So it says write the equation of the line that passes through the given point that has the following slope. So it has the slope of 3, so we don't need our slope, but the key piece of information that I'm missing is my y-intercept, or my b. Now, this is where lots of students get confused, and they say, well, -5 is my y-intercept. No, -5 is not your y-intercept. And the reason I know that this is not your y-intercept is because a y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, And that coordinate or ordered pair would be 0, comma, a number. This is not 0, comma, a number. So this is actually a random point on the graph. Now you're probably thinking, well, I could just go ahead and get a coordinate plane out and start plotting these on a coordinate plane and try to figure out what the equation of the line is. Well, it's not a very efficient way of finding the equation of the line. So we want to continue using the algebraic method, which is using the y equals mx plus b form. So we're going to use this formula and find the equation of this line. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plug in that slope into the equation where it belongs, the m. And now we look at this equation and we say, how am I going to find the y-intercept? Well, because I was given this random point, I know that the -2 on this random point represents the x value, and the random point, or the y value, excuse me, in the random point is -5. And so I have plugged in -2, -5 in for my x and y, and you can see that what I need to do is solve for the letter B. 3 times -2 is -6. Add 6 on both sides because it's being subtracted, and I get 1 equals B. Well, now that I know my B is 1 and my M is 3, I can tell you that the solution of this graph, excuse me, the equation of this graph is y equals 3x plus 1. So that is example number 2. Let's go ahead and do example number 3. Example number 3 also gives us two different pieces of information again, and it's asking you to write the equation of the line that passes through the given points. Well, now I have two random points. And now that I was given two random points, now I am still interested in what is my slope and what is my y-intercept. So if I'm given 2 points, do you remember the handy-dandy formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1? That is my slope formula, and that will give me that equation will give me my slope using these two random points. So I know that my y2 is 7, I know my y1 is 3, I know my x2 is 4, and my x1 is 2. And 7 minus 3 is 4, and 4 minus 2 is 2, and 4 over 2 is 2. So I know that my slope is 2. Now that I have my slope, I need to find my y-intercept. Now when I take a look at both of these random points, I know that they're not y-intercepts because they are not 0, comma, a number. So these two are just two very random points. And you're saying, well, which one do I use to find my value of B? You can use either ordered pair. Pick one. I like 2, 3. So I'm going to use 2, 3. If you use 4, 7, you will also get the exact same B value. So let's go ahead and use the formula y equals mx plus b. And in that, we know that we're going to use our random point. Our 3 goes in for our y, our 2 goes in for our x, and our slope of 2 goes in for our m. So we have 3 equals 2 times 2 plus b. 3 equals 4 plus b. Subtract 4 from both sides to get b alone, and b equals negative 1. And so the answer to this equation would be y equals negative, 2x minus 1. Now we're never done until we have the equation because the directions are asking for the equation. So always make sure that once you find your m and your b, you give me the equation of the line. Okay, let's go ahead and do our last example for today. We are going to write the equation of the line that passes through 4, 1, a random point, and is perpendicular to y equals 1/3 x plus 3. So we have a random point and a random line. Oh goodness, what does this mean? Well, first of all, we need to find our key pieces of information that we're looking for. And remember, those key pieces of information are the slope and the y-intercept. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this perpendicular line and see if this random line can help us with something. Well, what does perpendicular mean? If we remember from yesterday's video, perpendicular means that the slopes are opposite and reciprocals. Okay, well, if I look at this equation, this perpendicular line, and I look at its slope, 1/3, what is its perpendicular, what slope would be perpendicular to 1/3? Well, that would be negative, because the opposite of positive is negative, and the reciprocal of 1/3 would be 3/1. So our new slope is negative 3/1. So we use this random line that's perpendicular to the line we're trying to find our slope. Now we can use our random point to find our y-intercept. So we will plug in that random point. The 4 represents the x, the 1 represents the y, and our new slope, remember this was our new slope from the perpendicular line we found, negative 3x plus b. Plug in our x from our random point. 1 equals negative 3 times 4 plus b. 1 equals negative 12 plus b. Add 12 to both sides, and we get b equals 13. So b equals 13. So the equation of this line, remember we always want to find the equation after we find the two key pieces of information, would be negative 3x plus 13. And that is all the examples that I'm going to do today. So thank you, and we will see you tomorrow.